Good day, sir. In this video, we are going to discuss the correlation and association of the following characteristics such as globalization, social injustice, and poverty, poor or lack of education, and corruption and enemy towards drug trafficking and abuse. The first characteristic is the globalization. Globalization and drug trafficking are closely related in a number of ways. Drug traffickers find it simpler to establish worldwide networks as globalization progresses since it boosts trade and communication between nations. The more efficient flow of medications and related resources is made possible by this improved connectedness. Furthermore, whereas globalization might promote economic expansion, it can also exacerbate economic inequality. High rates of unemployment and poverty can lead to a high concentration of drug traffickers since residents there may resort to illegal activity out of need. Globalization can also put pressure on law enforcement and government in some nations, giving traffickers more latitude to operate without as much scrutiny. Smuggling gets easier when trade obstacles are removed and transportation networks are improved. Finally, drug demand may change and spread into other regions as a result of globalization's opening up of new markets and increases in disposable income. So drug abuse can be associated with globalization in a number of ways. The expansion of international transportation and communication networks facilitates the cross-border movement and distribution of drugs by drug traffickers. Globalization's cultural exchanges have the potential to introduce or mainstream drug usage in areas where it wasn't previously prevalent. Globalization-related economic changes may cause financial disparities to increase, which may push some people to use drugs as a coping mechanism for stress or adversity. So an example of literary works is the book of Narcos, The History of the Drug Trade. It looks at how global economic, political, and technological advancement have affected and grown drug trafficking networks, which is how the drug trade and globalization are related. Globalization makes it easier for people and things to travel internationally, including the transportation of illegal substances.
So next is the social injustice and poverty. As we can understand, poverty is always an outcome of social injustice. We all know that social injustice results in a way that when members of a group or society are not afforded the same opportunities or rewards, it entails consistent trends in which certain individuals have greater benefits, opportunities, funds, or resources than others. So because of social injustice, poverty results. And when poverty results, drug trafficking and abuse enters if we have no other remedy to leave poverty. Drug abuse and trafficking are closely associated with social injustice and poverty. So here are some correlations between social injustice, poverty, drug trafficking, and abuse. So number one is the economic desperation. In order to survive financially, people in poverty frequently turn to drug trafficking. Drug trafficking can present rich albeit illicit economic prospects in underprivileged areas. Number two is lack of opportunities. People who have trouble finding works or school may turn to drug trade as a feasible alternative if they are unable to pursue other legal paths to success. Number three is a social inequality. Systematic racism and discriminations are examples of social injustice that can worsen poverty and restrict access to resources. Vulnerability to drug usage and trafficking may increase as a result of this structural inequity. Number four is the community disintegration. Weaker community structures make areas more vulnerable, particularly those beset by poverty and social inequality.
There are many consequences of being poor or lack of education. Sometimes it's reciprocal. If a person is poor, they are not that capable of having good education, and if a person lack of education, then poor will perpetuate. There are many consequences of poor and lack of education. One is the illegal activities. Being poor or lack of education can push a person to indulge in illegal activities, especially in drug trafficking and abuse. And when you lack of education, you can have, or it is hard for you to have a high-paying job. Same goes with being poor. So how does poor or lack of education associate with drug trafficking and abuse? Here's our explanation. For a variety of reasons, drug use is more common among those with lack of education, lack of awareness, comprehension of dangers, and of drug usage is one potential causes. Furthermore, those with low levels of education might not know how to handle pressure and difficulties in their lives, which make them more likely to turn to drugs as coping mechanism or as a way to escape. Moreover, it has been discovered that dropping out of school raises likelihood of drug usage, especially injectable drugs use. This might be the result of lack of changes and depressing feeling, which might encourage risky behavior like drug use. An example of this is literary work, which is novel titled Paco's Story by Larry Henman. In Paco's story, Paco's lack of education limit his job opportunities, making it harder to find stable work and increasing his vulnerability to drug addiction. The novel shows how inadequate society support and poor education his struggle making drug use as a coping mechanism for his economic and psychological issues.
The last characteristic is corruption and enemy. Corruption and enemy both contribute to drug trafficking by undermining societal controls. Corruption allows drug operation to thrive, as officials might accept bribes to ignore or support illegal activities, weakening law enforcement. Enemy, or the breakdown of societal norms, occurs during times of stability and lead individuals to engage in illegal activities, including drug trafficking. It also erodes community cohesion, making it harder to resist drug networks. Together, these factors create an environment where drug trafficking can flourish. When it comes to drug abuse, corruption, and enemy both play significant roles in fostering drug abuse. Corruption can undermine efforts to address drug abuse by allowing illegal drug activities to persist unchecked, as corrupt officials might accept bribes to ignore or support drug trade operations. This weakens enforcement and regulatory systems, making it easier for drug abuse to spread. Enemy, or the breakdown of the societal norms and values, often occurs during periods of stability or rapid change, leading individuals to feel disconnected from societal rules. This disconnection can result in higher drug abuse rates, as individuals might turn to substances as a coping mechanism. Together, corruption and enemy create environments where drug abuse is more likely to flourish, as societal controls weaken and people lose trust in institutions. Examples of literary works under the characteristic is Train Spotting by depicts the moral deterioration and societal decay that its characters go through, which links into the corruption and enemy. The book shows how drug abuse breeds corruption in social and personal arenas, undermining moral standards and societal cohesiveness. The characteristics, disenchantment, and disengagement from society values are clear signs of enemy, which reflects a severe lack of direction and purpose. The novel's examination of these subjects is emphasized by the characters' chaotic lifestyles and the corrupt systems they encounter.